The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
C.D. Lamb, touchdown. End zone, Jake Ferguson. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, and Kyle Youmans.
Hey there, Cowboys Nation. The Cowboys fall to the Los Angeles Chargers. 34. Yeah, no good. 34-17, the final score from AT&T Stadium. Welcome into Talkin Cowboys. It is a holiday week, so we're going to try our best to cheer you up. No, we're not. We're not going to try and cheer you up. We're going to just talk about what happened over the course of that football game in Week 16. The Cowboys fall to 6-8-1. This music is very condescending to what the tone should be for this show. For Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, Isaiah Stanback, Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Youmans. Welcome into Talkin Cowboys, presented by Black White Coffee Company, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the SWBC
Studios.
Yeah, not the game that the Cowboys certainly wanted, of course. In between the time of our final show on Say It With Your Chest Friday into this Monday, it ends up being an elimination for the Cowboys as well, as the Eagles took down the Commanders.
Yep.
It was a part of what we anticipated, however.
Yeah.
It's now official, and it became even more official whenever they lost later on. So there's a lot of disappointment, I think, around the 2025 season when it comes to the Cowboys and the talent and how they played yesterday. But I'll start with you, Patrik. You were in the building. Your thoughts on how it went down against the Chargers.
Once again, the Cowboys are the GRG, the get right game. That's how it goes. So we said it last week. Josh pointed it out as a contrary point to yours, Kyle, when you were just throwing out the stats saying that the offensive line for the Los Angeles Chargers basically were one of the worst in the league as far as allowing pressure on
due to a lot of injuries along the line, of course.
And your counterpoint was that, well, the Cowboys can't get after the quarterback. Nope. So which one of these things is going to out-bad the other thing? And I said on Friday, I think the Cowboys' lack of pass rush ability is going to make it a wash. And I think that Justin Herbert is going to stay clean for a good bit of the game. Well, Justin Herbert was not sacked for the first time this entire season. Cowboys did not sack Justin Herbert a single time. He had his way back there. He was back there playing Madden, basically. And from there, so the game went. Cowboys these last 2 weeks have figured out the inability to have a fast start offensively. They figured that out, but now they're having slow finishes. Peanut butter, no jelly. Ham, no burger. It seems like that's the theme with this Cowboys team this season. Something goes right, and then something else is going wrong to wash it out. And that's what happened again on yesterday. Shouts out to, Dak tried to push through. George Pickens had a big game. C.D. Lamb crossed the 1,000-yard threshold for a fifth consecutive season, despite having missed several games. So, there was some bright spots. Javonte, he did what he could. Ryan Flanoy, I'm waiting for an update on him with the knee injury.
Yeah.
Just kind of quick news and note. Ryan Flanoy with the knee. And
DeMarvin Overshown
with the concussion. I don't expect either of them to play on Christmas Day. So we'll just put that out there right now. But for the most part, the defense was getting gashed as they normally have been. Those 3 games notwithstanding coming out of the bye week. And it was a lot of the same old, which is a team comes in and whatever they're bad at, they suddenly become really good at.
But I was told that having Matt Eberflus up in the booth to call the game defensively would improve. It was just an idea to improve. This is something that they came up with, the brain trust of the Dallas Cowboys came up with over the last week. I did not see any indication of a change on defense. Obviously, this looked to be like one of the worst performances that I've seen from the Dallas Cowboys defense. But yet again, like we were just talking about, the Dallas Cowboys defense just can't get right. That's their nickname this season. And another situation where the offense has to play a perfect game in order to kind of keep you in the conversation.
Yep.
in the game, period. The
He did in the first half for the most part.
It looked good, and then an unfortunate holding call, which was kind of iffy on my part, permitted Ryan Flournoy's second touchdown of the game.
It was ticky-tack, but it was the right call. I hate to admit it.
I disagree.
It was
Patrik
Walker.
Walker.
You can't hold the jersey and turn him. I mean, and if you let that go a split second sooner, then you probably don't get the flag. And also, if you don't hold him at all, it doesn't affect the play if you look at the timing of the throw. So,
Isaiah said it in real time. He said Dak didn't necessarily help out there because he went into the pressure. Not that Dak knows, but he went into the pressure and then allowed for Khalil Mack to
it was ticky-tack, but it was not a bad call.
I really don't want to. I mean, granted that the Chargers defense buckled up in the second half and were able to hold the Cowboys from doing anything offensively and had them in a lot of fourth down situations, which the Cowboys did not convert on. Obviously, there was just some looks there that the offense was not necessarily getting right, but more so than not, the fact that you weren't able to generate any pressure against that offensive line, the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, against the Chargers offensive line, it just, to me, it just is more of the same. Mm-hmm. And talked about him going up to the booth and how that might change things, a better look, a better view, and being able to make better adjustments during the game. You simply didn't see it. It was just more of the same.
Yeah.
Their offense scored against our defense 6 of 8 times.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
6 scoring drives of 8 drives.
Of 8 total possessions.
Wow. That seems like a lot, Isaiah.
Yeah, it's not a good percentage, bud. Second half, the Cowboys, we know it, but the first half was good. Second half, the Cowboys' possessions. Punt, turnover on downs, fumble.
That doesn't seem good either.
NGB.
Not good, though. You couldn't do anything. Offensively, you had a good start. Defensively, wasn't great at all. Obviously, it was not all just Eberflus. I know he's getting torched right now, and statistically, for the last 15 games, it shows that he should be getting torched. But it's not just him. It's not just Flus. There were times where he got out-schemed. There was times where he called man, and we got beat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Call it what it is. So, I mean, I understand he's the representative and responsible for all those guys on that side of the ball, but guys still have a job to do. So I don't want him to be the only scapegoat. Guys need to be held accountable to not handling their assignments as well. So just bad, man. Bad. In terms of the running game, I don't know why we are just not committing to that portion. It's frustrated me over the last probably 5 games now.
Yeah.
They just has not. They, whatever reason, they just said, all right, Javonte, yeah, we know you were top 5 for a while, but we're going to throw this thing around.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they weren't getting stopped on the run. They just stopped giving it to him. No. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's frustrating. And I mentioned this to Kyle and the rest of the crew. You're going to be frustrated when you have expectations that aren't met. And I didn't expect the Cowboys to win in this game. I just think that against larger, more physical teams, we just don't do well. Yeah. So I did not have an expectation of a victory, but I expected a more competitive battle.
And Schottenheimer's not off the hook on this one either. They got off to a fast start, which was great. Unfortunately, you had like the holding penalty, which ended up negating what would have been Flournoy's second touchdown. So for the most part, first couple of offensive drives, holding penalty notwithstanding, those guys were cooking. But then it slowed down, and in the second half, it was just like a few of those calls, example being like 4th and inches. Why are you handing it off to Hunter Lipke in that situation? Kyle tweeted, and I jumped right on that tweet. You're like, might as well QB sneak it in that. Might as well. As opposed to handing it back 3 or 4 yards to get 3 inches. I'll never understand that process. But then there was another particular drive where you had 2 errant passes from Dak Prescott, which looks like it was a miscommunication between him and the receiver. One went sailing way downfield down the right seam, and the other was
Turpin?
Yeah, I think it was
Turpin stopped.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there was a miscommunication there.
There's no miscommunication. Turpin stopped.
He just didn't run his route.
He just stopped running his route. Because Dak Prescott, again, not understanding, not knowing. I mean, this is me just speculating.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the route that was called, but it looked as if he was responsible for taking the middle of the field open. It happens at times where a receiver is running their route, and they're like, I can't get past this guy.
Yeah.
Right? So they just throttle down.
He's not throwing to me.
Yeah, he's not throwing it to me, right? Because there's a guy right here. He's not throwing it to me. I'm going to shut my route down right now. Dak was like, you're Kevontae freaking Turpin.
Yeah.
get past this guy.
Okay.
So that
tracks.
from what I perceived, that was the miscommunication. Like, hey, bro, why are you stopping? Like, you're one of the fastest cats in the league. Don't stop running.
Yeah, that would track because in real time, it was such a broken play that you would think that Dak was assuming this route will be ran and the player did not run the route, which is basically what you're saying. But you're saying it wasn't because you don't believe it was because Kevontae Turpin thought he was supposed to run and out. It was because Kevontae Turpin looked around and said, it's not coming to me, so I'm shutting down, which is horrible. But yeah, so the offense is not excused from the loss at all when you only get 17 points. But fast start, slow finish, and the Cowboys defense just did what we felt the Cowboys defense was due, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so.
you as the offense, you're not excused from 17 points, especially when all 17 come in the first half and you didn't get any in the second half. So, and we talked about this numerous times on this show, is this is the 2025 Dallas Cowboys. When we look back on this season and remember how this unfolded and what will stick out, it's the fact that the offense had to be perfect. And to expect an offense to be perfect in the National Football League in 2025 is unrealistic. But they've had to be perfect. And they almost were in the first half. They scored on all three of their full possessions in the first half. The only exception of the difference between the crazy fast start that the Chargers had and then the Cowboys offense had was the fact that they had a holding call and the field goal. That's the only difference in the entire first half.
Punch for punch.
But you can't expect that to happen over 4 quarters. And when you're talking about consistency, you're talking about complementary football, which I know fans get tired of hearing, but it's so true.
That's what good teams do.
That's what good teams do. I mean, look at what happened last night, the Patriots.
Yeah, oh, my
goodness.
The Patriots, even when they were down, they had a special teams play, then followed by a defensive play. Then the offense picked it up, and Stephon Diggs had 134 yards. There's a reason why they're 12-4. I mean, that's a part of this game right now, is you have to have all 3 phases. And the Cowboys, for lack of a better term, don't have 2 of them. They don't have 2 of those phases playing at a high level right now, defense and special teams. I'll still contend, even with the 17 points on the board, I think the offense was fine except for the run game. I do agree with you there, and I think they went away from the run, and they fell off. And I think part of that is they felt pressured, and they felt backed into a corner. And whenever they feel backed into the corner, the default for Brian Schottenheimer as a play caller is throw the pill, throw it around. And that's where I feel like yesterday came into fruition. It looked like a team that had nothing to play for. It looked like a team that had been eliminated from playoff contention, which is something I did not expect. Even if you were eliminated going into that game as the Dallas Cowboys, I still expected to see fight. And you saw it
for a half.
In sporadic points.
I think you saw it for a half.
And maybe for the half. I would contend that maybe from the offensive side for a half.
But to kind of contend, or just to compliment what you're saying about a team that is more physical than you, the Dallas Cowboys sort of gave up in that aspect.
They wore them down.
Like they were worn down. I don't want to say they gave up, but they were worn down by how physical the Chargers were.
Well, it's and you make a point, a good point. They did look like, for the most part, a team that had nothing to play for, unfortunately. But what makes that even more disconcerting is they're in this position because they had the same energy in Detroit against the Lions. When they had an opportunity to continue to apply pressure to the Philadelphia Eagles and really push this thing down to the wire, you showed up and basically laid down. So
against a more physical team.
It literally, like, I hate to say that because I know it sounds terrible, but it has been consistent, not just this year. It's been consistent.
That's our identity.
It really has been. It really has been. Based upon the personnel that you have, when you play a team that's about that life and they're bigger than you, right? And they're willing to go toe to toe in the box all day long, you struggle.
Okay, I want to do a little social experiment here off of that. Out of the losses for the Cowboys this year, was this a more physical football team than the Cowboys? Not necessarily in the game, but just think about the roster, right? Eagles.
Yes.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yes.
The first game. The Bears.
Yes.
Yes.
This year, absolutely.
Yes.
Panthers.
Yes.
They did that day.
They were definitely that day.
Rico.
Broncos.
We didn't buckle up that game.
Broncos, absolutely.
Absolutely, the Broncos. The one I could probably contend would probably be the Cardinals. Like, they just aren't that good.
Snuck one.
They just kind of got you that day. Lions, Vikings,
They beat
Chargers.
you off the line, though. The Cardinals did.
Lions, yes. Vikings, yes. Flores and Chargers.
I think the final 3 games, you've been out-physicaled by that football team. And it takes me back to, what year was that? 2022 when Dallas, maybe 21, going into 22, Dallas felt like they got punked by San Francisco in that first playoff game.
Yeah.
And they got out-physicaled by San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan. And what did they do that offseason? They said, we're going to revamp how tough we are up front. And their first-round pick was Tyler Smith. And that was a check the box. You got that one right. So is that going to be the mantra this year? You've got some speed. You've got some skill. You've got some talent. You're going to have to retain a couple of guys that are in contract years. But for the most part, if you're going to attack something, you need to attack your physicality as a team because you just don't have that.
Oh, you have so much finesse. You have the skill players that are in sight. I mean, you have a bowl of Lucky Charms without any milk to speak of. You know what I mean? So you got to pour water in there. Like, it's flashy, but it's not. There's no depth. There's nothing behind it.
I think the problem is that you don't have the physicality at every position. So you brought in Kenny Clark, super physical, monster of a man. You go and trade for Quentin Williams, super physical, monster of a man. So your defensive interior, monster of a man, physical. Your edges, nope. Okay, and that's not even a knock to a guy like Easy. Easy is more of a finesse guy. Like I said, like Kyle said, they're trying to fit him as a DeMarcus Lawrence, but that he's not.
In their mind, and this is my thought, I think that they believe that Sam Williams is going to be that guy for them.
They did think so. They did.
Maybe they thought at one point.
It just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah.
So
because he has that mentality.
Yeah. It just didn't.
Just doesn't.
Right. So defensive interior, check and check. Super physical, great. That's solved for now and the future. Your edges, not so much. Linebackers, nope. You don't have physicality at the linebacker core at all. Cornerbacks, nope. I'll say ready.
It's a safety though.
Yeah, ready.
Playing out of position.
Yeah, he's playing out of position, bro.
And then speaking of your safeties, you got Dono. He's physical, but he's always being asked to do what He's asked to do what's not his strong point. So from a defensive side of the ball, the only physicality that you have that can out-muscle an opposing team is your defensive interior. That's it. Your defensive line, or defensive tackles, I should say. Offensively speaking, you got to figure out your offensive line. You got to figure it out. You got Tyler Smith. Check that box.
Cool there.
Outside of Tyler Booker.
Yeah, I like what we've seen.
You got two super physical interior linemen. We'll see if BB can take that next step. We'll see. But the two Tylers, Booker and Smith, yes. Outside of that, you don't see that from Terrence Steele on a consistent basis. Tyler Guyton needs to remain on the field. Nate Thomas, not having a good showing. Cooper Beebe, we'll see. But my point being, they have too many spots where that we got dogs, horses that will punch you in the mouth. It's not enough of that at certain positions. And until you figure that out, you're going to keep getting off.
Do you think it's because of the culture that they're trying to create here?
Explain.
The locker room culture. Oftentimes when coaches and organizations are trying to get a team that is, what's the best way of saying this? You need some goons. You need some guys. You need some guys that are like on the edge. Like you got to reel them in a little bit. Maybe they don't necessarily always.
RKGs.
Maybe they don't always fall in line, right? Like every team needs those guys.
You got one at receiver. You went and got him.
Yeah, you got one at receiver. But I'm saying so I wonder. This is not an indictment on their actual physical being, but the mentality of the players that they're acquiring. Maybe they need to get some more edgy players, because at the end of the day, physicality, a lot of it is mentality.
Facts. Absolute fact.
I'm going to end that segment there because I completely agree with you, and I think there's a lot of that going forward. There's a lot of blame being thrown around. It could go one way or the other, but I think everybody in the building has something to do with how this season, at different points in time, has come down to what it is now. And you're 2 games under 500. You're out of the playoff picture entirely, completely eliminated from contention with 3 games to go. There's a lot. Well, you were going, I know, but you were out going into your third game, gentlemen. Yes. So with all that being said, there's not just one person or one specific area that needs to have the blame. It's a organizational type of failure in 2025.
We all underachieved.
That's exactly how it goes. All right, when we come back, I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball. You guys mentioned a couple different pieces there. where do you start from what you saw yesterday? Because this is evaluation time for the Dallas Cowboys. Where do you start? Because there are multiple spots to try and upend going into the offseason. More Talking Cowboys coming up after this.
Every day begins with a promise to work hard and to build a future. That's why we're here, providing the tools, expertise, and John Deere equipment you have relied on for generations to help you get the job done right. We're with you. That's our promise to you, because no matter the project or the challenge you're facing,
we're with you. We're united.
Cowboys fans, we've got big news. Black Rifle Energy is now available at Texas 7-Eleven stores. And for a limited time, you can score 2 cans for just $6 at participating locations. These cans pack a serious punch, 200 milligrams of caffeine, veteran-crafted flavor, and the clean energy you need to power through those long days. So the next time you roll into your neighborhood 7-Eleven here in Texas, grab that 2 for $6 Black Rifle Energy deal and fuel up the American way. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee.
How's it going? You see that Cowboys game?
Oh, I watched. Been seeing some good things.
Totally. They have some talent.
Yup, some great talent.
And they got some fight.
Hoping this is the year.
Me too. Oh, I'm Cody, by the way.
I'm Travis.
Nice to meet you, Travis. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
Make a new friend based solely on their shirt choice. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
At AT&T, we guarantee our network so you can talk college football with your BFF while taking Buster to the vet.
Hey, yeah, I can't believe he ate the whole thing of chicken wings.
And I can't believe we're staging a comeback. Touchdown!
Yes! Staying connected matters. That's why in the rare event of a network outage, you'll automatically get a bill credit for a full day's service. For wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers, must be connected to impacted tower at onset of outage. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for full details.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, where your Cowboys geared to a Black Rifle Coffee location. Get 10% off your entire order at Black Rifle Coffee. I don't know if they're even open on Christmas. I feel like they're probably not on Thursday. So
check
you might only have check their hours. You might only have one more shot to do that.
Oh,
at the end of the year.
I don't like those words.
One more opportunity on a Cowboys game day to go get 10% off your entire order. All right, back here on Talking Cowboys. I saw a stat yesterday that I think sums up kind of what we were talking about in the first segment there. Okay. The Cowboys have a 4,000-yard passer.
Yep.
2 1,000-yard receivers, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens.
And
running back.
And a 1,000-yard rusher in Javonte Williams. And yet they were eliminated from playoff contention with 3 games to go. So all of that to be said.
It's crazy.
I mean, you've got to point to the defense. And everybody knows this. Everybody's watched this. If you've even listened to a smidgen of Talking Cowboys over the course of the season, you would know the defense has been abysmal at different times.
No, I thought he was going to do it.
You do
it.
I want Kyle to do it.
You want me to do it?
My voice won't allow me to do it today.
The defense
trash. So I'm not as good at it, I don't think. Where do you start? When we go into this offseason, we just talked about physicality. And I think that's a number one trait that you need, but I'm thinking more position groups here. Do you start in the secondary? Do you start in the pass rush? You've already revamped the interior, so I think you're set moving forward. Unless, do you want another D tackle, Isaiah?
Nope.
Okay, all right, cool. So you
now-
got that out of the way.
now he's
good.
got what he
We got 3. We got 3.
Got what you want.
We got 3. I got 2 monsters.
Cool.
And I got
Just
a third.
making sure.
Well, 4. Yeah, Sally. Sally's on the contract next year, too.
That's good.
Haven't seen him recently.
That's fair.
But where do you start?
I'm always going to be built front to back. You have your defensive tackle position solved, solve your defensive end.
Okay.
You have to get a pass rush. You have no choice, because without the pass rush,
just a question. If you're solving your defensive end, are you going to take a chance with one of your first round picks, or are you going to attack free agency?
I would like to attack free agency, but first I want to see who's
available. Of course, yeah.
Right.
And we can't talk about.
There's one name that is going to be available.
Yeah, we can't say it yet.
And you can't say it yet.
If he's under contract this year,
right.
And there was interest in him going into the trade deadline from this franchise.
And I would say, even if you acquire that individual, you still attack it in the draft. You got 2 first-round picks. So for me, my 2 first-round picks are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. One is going to be defensive end. The other is going to be linebacker. That's how I feel about it. Again, I'm building front to back. DeMarvion Overshown is back. He's your centerpiece at the linebacker position. But you don't know if they're going to stick with Eberflus. If they do stick with Eberflus, that's probably going to keep Maris Leofau still clamped. Right? What does that mean for Shamar James? Is he going to be more unleashed? Does he take the step forward? Things like that. So the only player in the linebacker unit that I'm confident with going forward, and you still have to put an asterisk on that because he has to remain available, which is DeMarvion Overshown. So I'm not overlooking linebacker. And I think, Kyle, you posed this question a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying which positions do we want to address in the draft with the 2 first-round picks?
Yeah, that was after the mini-bye.
Yeah, defensive end and linebacker. Those are my 2 first-round picks. Regardless of what I do in free agency, but also go get something in free agency.
Where are you getting a corner from?
So, no. I get what he's saying because the first thing popped in my mind was, okay, well, you need a corner. Yeah, but you know what helps corners cover?
I don't disagree. However,
is sacks and QBs running for them live.
Okay. Who are your starting corners next year?
Oh, no, you got to figure that out. I'm not saying you have an answer there.
You don't even have one person that you
don't have an answer there.
Deron Bland is going to be healthy. Trayvon Diggs most likely won't be here, right?
Who's
your starters?
Well, they're going to look at Savon Revel.
Savon Revel's not like we haven't physically.
But he hasn't had a full off season.
He has not, and I'm just going off of what I can see right now.
You're right.
I don't have the confidence in mind that he's going to be a starter yet.
But you have.
I hope that he gets healthy. I hope that he gets back to what he was.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But the answer to your question has to also be answered through the purview of upstairs. So it's less about, well, what would No C do? Okay, I know what No C would do, but I'm telling you that they're going to look at it as Savon Revel is a starter.
Yeah.
Deron Bland is going to be back healthy. He is black. Deron Bland is going to be back healthy, and then you kind of go from there. So you're not wrong. I shouldn't even have to say it, but I'll say it anyway. You are in dire straits at cornerback, but you're also in dire straits at defensive end position.
You could argue you're in dire straits at every position aside from defensive tackle.
But if you build backwards to forward, you're still not pressuring the quarterback. You're still not getting linebackers who can have correct run fit, so you're giving up yards on the ground as well. So then it's like, yeah, the corners are covering, but the windows are expanded, and now they have to help in run support.
I don't disagree with you, but then I go from your point that I say, what positions are harder to acquire?
Corner.
So like,
but then again, I wouldn't be sold on a first round linebacker because I don't know that I trust this team's evaluation of linebackers in the draft.
And I think,
granted, you got Overshown. Granted, you have Overshown. But still, even when he has been out there over the last few weeks healthy, it hasn't been excellent.
I'll say this counterpoint to that is they actually scout linebackers really well on day 1 and like day 2, but they have they're snake bitten. Right, so it's the availability issue. So Leighton Vander Esch was a hit coming right out, right? Sean Lee was a hit for a good bit of his career, but injury. So they can hit on an off-ball linebacker.
They drafted Micah Parsons.
And DeMarvion Overshown. So as far as and DeMarvion Overshown. So as far as scouting the ability of an off-ball linebacker, they're actually really damn good at that. But they tend to be snake bitten and getting these extremely talented linebackers that then have availability issues.
But isn't that part of evaluation?
I think
making sure that these players are available.
No. The only one that was predictable. I hate to say it that way, but the only one that had the red flags that were inexcusable was LVE.
And Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
They did get him back on the field, but so for the most part, and I won't excuse that because LVE had neck issues coming out of Boise State. You were the medical team that handled Jalen
injuries
Smith
coming in.
Yeah, so
LVE
had those two
issues coming in, and Damone Clark had issues coming in.
And Overshown had some injury flags at Texas too.
Did he?
Yeah.
To the extent that you would think,
to the extent where
because you can't predict
ACLs.
ACLs.
But he definitely had some stuff.
Yeah, his is just
a team is more, and I look at it from this perspective. If I can't grab it in the draft, can I grab it in free agency or can I trade for it? Right? Teams are less willing to trade really good corners.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You're just not getting rid of them, right? I think when
but if you are, you're paying a really high price for those.
My
it's
gosh.
insane.
It goes quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive end, freaking corner.
Look at the price that the Colts paid for Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
I mean, not that Dallas would do anything like that to go get a corner, but just look at the price tag because even a step below that is still going to cost you.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to draft a linebacker, it's got to be a dude that you expect to be
two names
part of your team for 10 years.
Two names.
One of them, Jacob Rodriguez at Texas Tech.
3 names.
Okay. That's
okay. So
you
got one, Sonny. Sonny Styles is one, and C.J. Allen is the other. Those are 3 guys that I would use a first-round pick on. And I think because you have 2 first-round picks, and I've seen you have success in, hell, cornerback. All right, let's talk about cornerback. Before the latest Trayvon, let's not have recency bias. So we know everything's going on with Trayvon Diggs. He's not been playing up to the level, injury, et cetera, but isn't he a second-round pick? So I say that to say you would like to believe that you could find all these are lottery picks. You never know. But if you found Trayvon Diggs in the second round, then you can find another Trayvon Diggs.
You don't have a second-round pick.
That's right, you don't.
That's what I'm saying.
No day 3 pick.
You don't have any room to operate when it comes to your first 2-round picks. That's great. I love the fact that they have 2 first-round picks, but you don't have a second.
But they have to hit,
and you got to hit both of them.
Fire
both of them
the
have to be. Both have to be day 1 starters that impact your team.
That's good.
Right
I'm glad
now.
you reminded me. We don't have a second-round pick, so get a second-round pick.
How would you do it?
Package something. You're going to get some comp
What does it
picks.
look like right now in terms of where we?
Yeah, you're going to get some comp picks that you can package. You take those and maybe you throw in something from 27.
Your comp picks aren't going to get you back in second, though.
Package.
Who are you packaging?
Who? I didn't say who.
That's
you
what I'm
said
saying.
who.
I'm just.
Oh, who are you thinking about, Kyle?
But that's what it's going to take. You don't have the draft capital to get back. You can draft. You can go back if you wanted to trade your first round, one of your 2 first rounds, to go back.
Pull from the future. Is what I'm saying. Pull from the future.
Right now, the Cowboys are sitting at 13th overall with their pick. And then Green Bay, with their most recent loss, they are projected to lose.
Thank you, Chicago.
In the wild card round, they would be 21.
13 and 21.
13 and
21.
Projection, because Green Bay is going to make the playoffs more than likely. And if they make the playoffs, where they end up is going to determine how you're.
Man,
It'd be nice if they
I
missed
would
the playoffs,
not be upset at one of those picks being a cornerback. Let me be clear. I would not be upset at it. But if you ask me to choose, I need a pass rush, especially somebody opposite as Raku.
You also don't have a 3rd-round pick, by the way. I forgot to say.
Yeah, no day 2 picks. Period.
That's good.
It's going to be a long day for us in this studio.
Unless you start pulling from 27 to 28.
Maybe.
But I need somebody to complement Ezraku so that you can take Ezraku out of that DeMarcus Lawrence fit and get him back to a DeMarcus Ware. And I need linebacker core solved, and then look at the cornerbacks. But I can't build front to back. I'll back to front. I can't build front to back. My brain just doesn't. My football brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah. But I mean, all of that being said, what we've kind of speculated about too is that you may have one of those picks go to yet another offensive lineman.
Maybe.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Let's talk about that when we come back. I want to go back to the offensive side because, of course, they are not without blame in the 34-17 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. What went wrong on the offensive side, and why was it the offensive line? When we come back with more Talkin Cowboys right after this.
At AT&T, we guarantee our network so you can talk college football with your BFF while taking Buster to the vet.
Hey, yeah, I can't believe he ate the whole thing of chicken wings.
And I can't believe we're staging a comeback. Touchdown!
Yes! Staying connected matters. That's why in the rare event of a network outage, you'll automatically get a bill credit for a full day's service. For wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers, must be connected to impacted tower at onset of outage. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for full details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Cowboys fans, we've got big news. Black Rifle Energy is now available at Texas 7-Eleven stores. And for a limited time, you can score 2 cans for just $6 at participating locations. These cans pack a serious punch, 200 milligrams of caffeine, veteran-crafted flavor, and the clean energy you need to power through those long days. So the next time you roll into your neighborhood 7-Eleven here in Texas, grab that 2 for $6 Black Rifle Energy deal and fuel up the American way. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company. This segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Back with Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez,
Hi,
Isaiah Stanback, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. There's a lot of craziness in the chat today. I'm just kind of monitoring, just kind of
Don't do it, Kyle.
Crazy.
No. It's fine. I think it's fine, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But I did see this really good question, and it does play into what was going to go into this break. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Dalton asked, he said, do you believe Brian Schottenheimer has evolved as a play caller as the season has gone on?
Ooh.
Do you feel like he's evolved in his play calling? Because like we said, going into the break, got to talk about the offense. We'll get to the offensive line in a minute, but I just saw that question, and I think it's too good to pass up.
No. I don't think he's evolved as a play caller. I think he is a really good coach. I think he's a good leader. But for me, time and time again, you've been in situations we just talked about at the top of the show where he's gotten away from the running game, which was kind of his MO from his coaching days previous to the Dallas Cowboys, and then including last year, even though he said he was butting heads with McCarthy as far as running the ball. Yeah. But you've seen it time and time again where they've kind of leaned back on the run game, which is unfortunate because the run game looks so good at times. There's just not a lot of balance there. And I've been very critical of red zone situations where he just leans on the passing game a little too much, and it just basically is, it's not hard for the opposing defense to identify what Dallas is going to do in the red zone if we know what they're going to do in the red zone. It's going to be a play action pass, and it's going to be, you just know.
Bootleg.
Yeah, it's going to be a bootleg. You know exactly what he's going to do. I feel like there's not a lot of, I don't want to say lack of creativity. I don't think he's been put in situations enough to where he can get in a groove offensively.
I have a theory. First of all, let me say this. Shouts out to my niece, DM. She is watching. The kids are out of school right now, so the kids, my nieces and nephews, they don't often get to watch Talking Cowboys.
How cool.
And my wife just told me that my niece, DM, is back in Atlanta watching the show. So
nice.
Shouts out. Absolutely, A-Town. Now, that's my patty cake. I love my patty cake. But my theory is, follow the chronology here, okay?
Ooh.
The Cowboys' offense was high-powered for several weeks.
Yes, it was.
At a certain point, when they realized that the defense was just abysmal, the worst in the league. Say it.
Trash.
That's when Brian Schottenheimer began spending more time with the defensive coordinator in meetings, right? My theory is, and from that point forward, the offense looked a bit disjointed over what it was weeks prior. My working theory is that once the offensive coordinator, who also wears the hat of head coach, had to then become the principal to what was going on in the back of the class, it took away from what happened with the offensive side of the ball. I say that to say I wonder, and it'll be something that we never have an answer to.
He was torn between being a head coach and an offensive coordinator?
I wonder if him being forced to be the head coach, as far as checking in constantly and having these extra meetings with their defensive coordinator to get that side of the ball correct, if it cost the explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball. So I agree. I don't think he evolved as a play caller, but I don't think he evolved as a play caller because he had to constantly keep going into the defensive coordinator's classroom and standing there. We all remember, we've all been in class before, and we've had some disruptive classes. Sometimes we've been the culprit of said disruptive class. And then you'll have like the vice principal or the principal.
Don't mind me.
Yeah, just come and stand at the door and just monitor it. Well, while the
unannounced, but wanting to show presence.
And while they're showing
act like I'm not here.
And while they're showing presence, that's taking away time from something else that they could and should be doing. Right?
But it's their responsibility.
Working theory. It is.
That's what happens when you're a head coach.
But so here's the thing, though, right?
Huh!
If you have a defensive coordinator that you can wholly trust to handle everything, and your defense is playing as it should be playing, you don't need to go in that room. You can continue to focus on the offensive side of the ball. That's all I'm saying.
But when you're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, you're overseeing all things.
Yep.
Maybe that's just a part of the gig.
So
it is.
It's a luxury,
but it's a part of the conversation that needs to be had on if you're going to move on from Matt Eberflus as well. Because if it's taking away from the evolution of the offense, and now it's a double whammy.
Two things there. One, as a head coach, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, Isaiah. If you're a head coach, you got to oversee everybody, which is why it's important to have solid coordinator hires. One of them has already been talked about in Matt Eberflus. At what point? I don't think you're talking about job security or anything with Clayton Adams, but one thing that he was brought in to do was to revamp your offensive line. That hasn't necessarily played to fruition, mostly because of health or whatever you want to chalk it up to. At some point as the head coach, you need to have confidence and trust in your guys, in Clayton Adams, Matt Eberflus, Nick Sorensen. And it doesn't feel like there's that cohesion that you anticipated going in.
I agree. I would say this really quickly. I'm going to throw about this real quick. Someone in chat said me stating the obvious of him spending time on the defensive side of the ball is an excuse. No, it's not. If you're supposed to be cooking dinner and the kids are acting up in the background and you constantly have to go checking on the kids, if that causes you to accidentally burn dinner, it's not an excuse. It's a reason. There's a difference between an excuse and a reason. That's all I'm saying.
Your thoughts?
So we had this discussion when we were talking about potential head coaches, and I personally, I am not necessarily the biggest fan of coaches that are in charge of the offense or the defense. I come from the cloth where I believe that they should be fully aware and knowledgeable, and maybe even capable of calling plays on either or side, but I don't think that they should be calling plays on that side. Reason, this being an example as to why, because some of the more successful teams that I've personally been on, those coaches were leaders of men. That was their primary job. The head coach was the leader of men. Capable of calling plays, but have somebody in position to call the plays. Therefore, I can go to the offensive meeting rooms. I can go to the special teams meeting room. I can go to the defensive meeting rooms, and I can sit back and I can look. I can observe and I can take notes and I can be aware of the discussions that are taking place, so I don't have to go off of hearsay. When I'm in a position where I am in charge of one unit, I have to now pull double duty, and I cannot fully be invested in anything that's outside of the fact that I have to be responsible for calling plays. I don't know what you're talking about on the defensive side, Kyle, because I'm going off of what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Or I'm going off what the players are communicating to me. I don't truly know.
Even as many meetings and as many communications as you can have from one person to the next among the entire staff, it's still not going to be the same as you seeing it yourself. Unless you have a defensive coordinator that you can trust wholeheartedly.
Agreed. 100%.
With 100% certainty.
Which is a luxury.
Exactly.
Which is a luxury. It's not an expectation. It's a luxury.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, again, it is what it is, right? Shotty calls the plays offensively, and he's the head coach. So, yes, he got pulled away from – I don't want to say he got pulled away from. he had the responsibility, and it was necessary for him to start overseeing what was going on in those defensive meeting rooms because of the lack of productivity. Now, did it pull him away? Yeah, but that's what happens. There's only so much of a piece of a pie, right? You can't just have a whole pie on offense when you got somebody over here that needs to eat too, right? So I have to go spend some time over here, and that's going to take away from that.
Exactly.
But that doesn't, to me, that still is not an excuse as to why this offense didn't. The offense still
stay the course,
numbers, right? They put up numbers. Let's not act like this. We're disappointed.
We just talked about it earlier.
These guys, let's not act like these guys didn't do amazing things with Shoddy even splitting duties.
Their fault was that they weren't perfect the entire season.
There's certain things that I'm sure that he's going to go back and evaluate and want to criticize and change about his play calling. The red zone, running the ball, the commitment to running the ball. You know, I am almost certain that he takes it as a personal challenge that for 2 to 3 weeks, George Pickens went away because of the double teams. Well, whose responsibility is that? That's coach's responsibility.
Yes, it is.
Don't allow him to be in a position where he can get double teamed. So that's a challenge, right? And I believe that Coach Shoddy is of the mindset where he's going to go back, be analytical about it, watch his film, and be like, dang, I have to be better here to make sure that my guys can't get double teamed.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the question was at the beginning of the segment, do you feel like he's evolved as a play caller?
The evolution, no. I think that he became more predictable as the year went on. For what reason, I don't know. But again, I don't foresee him going back-to-back years with that same issue.
Yeah.
I don't. I think he's that type of coach where he will go back and be like, I have to be better here. Because it's not the players. George didn't fall off. He didn't start dropping balls.
Right.
CD dropped balls early on, and he figured it out, right? Yeah. Javonte Williams didn't start fumbling all of a sudden, right? It was just we didn't commit to the run, and I allowed my guys to be double-teamed.
Yeah.
And we didn't convert on fourth down.
We've already talked about, what was that?
What's your thought on that? Did he evolve as a play caller?
No, but I also don't know if it was entirely on him. We just talked about the way that the defense hindered some of that growth and how that happened. And then the offensive line, too. There were times where I feel like Shoddy's play calling was conservative to protect himself from the offensive line not playing well. There were times where
you had to make adjustments.
They were able to grip it and rip it early in the season because you were confident that the 5 guys up front were going to block for Dak Prescott long enough to where they could have a play develop and they could have the scheme start playing into it. So no, I don't think he did evolve, but I also think there were outside factors in this whole thing that contributed to that.
But he was still dominant. Let's not. Just because evolution means that.
No, you're right. The question was
he was still dominant.
Yes,
as a play caller. Let's give him his
still
loves,
one of the best
flowers.
offenses in football.
One of the best offenses in football, but you can't have the disparity from being one of the best offenses in arguably the worst defense.
Yeah.
That just means you're mid.
Yeah. That's where they are. 2 games under 500 at this point. Appreciate you joining us. We will be back tomorrow, our final show of the week. It is a holiday week. It's one of those weird ones where we're going to have a Say It With Chest Tuesday tomorrow. We're going to have some fun in this SWBC studio tomorrow. Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, maybe, if that's what you're into. Isaiah Stanback, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow with more Talkin Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!